Welcome to Nice Ashes. I'm Nate.
And I'm Mike.
What are we smoking this episode, Mike?
The Nub Maduro.
We did threaten that one last episode, didn't we?
Yes, we did.
Nice. This one smells a little like chocolatey.
Yeah, it smells good.
Smells sweet.
This is a more traditional cigar that I would get in a cigar shop, as far as the color and the smell. Set Connecticut wasn't nearly as good as I was hoping it would be.
No, I think if we want to do a deeper dive into Connecticut's, we could probably find something better than the Nub.
Ooh, wow. That is a very dark start.
That is. Yikes.
That is midnight.
Yep. That is the abyss is looking back into me.
Yes.
Wow. Very, very, very strong.
Yes.
Well, before we talk about what you want to talk about, I thought since it's, it's the start of October now when we're recording this episode. And when it comes out, it'll probably be, I don't know, after Halloween. But since things are starting to get spooky, I thought it'd be fun to share that my wife and I watched Hocus Pocus and Hocus Pocus 2.
As did we.
All right, so let's, I don't know, I feel like we should leave with that.
This is an unannounced movie review. Oh boy.
Here we
That's
go.
exciting. That's exciting. Hocus Pocus is a classic.
Okay, so let me say that I don't particularly care for it.
I used to like it when I was a kid. As an adult, it's cringy.
I've only ever seen it twice. I never used to watch it as a kid. Sarah grew up watching it. She loves the first one. So they just put the second one out, and I was like, well, I've only seen it once at that time. So we started with the first one, and it's fine. It's fine. It's not bad.
It has the benefit of nostalgia for many.
It has the benefit of nostalgia for many, and for a lot of kind of those types of movies, it's not terrible. I gave the first one a 6 out of 10. I wouldn't not watch it if somebody wanted to watch it, but it's not going to be my go-to Halloween movie for sure.
Sarah watches it every year, which means that I have to watch it every year.
So it is your go-to Halloween movie.
I guess so. It's not my go-to Halloween movie, but it's it is a movie I bear every year. And I like it well enough.
It's fine.
It's a perfectly admirable Disney Channel movie from the early 90s.
Yes.
Which Hocus Pocus 2 is.
Oh, God.
Basically a Hocus Pocus, a Disney Channel movie with the message.
Now. Yes. So, so, because you've watched The Critical Drinker.
I've seen many of his reviews.
Yes, and he does a great series where why modern movies suck, and one of them is you have to kill your heroes so that you can substitute the, androgynous or female version, and they did it with Terminator: Dark Fate. They did it with Star Wars. You have to kill Han and Luke so you can get Rey in there, and you can cheer for them instead of the people that you should be cheering for because they're the people from the original stuff. Like, why wouldn't you cheer for the hero that's already established? And that's very much what they did in this one. I mean, you weren't, I don't know, like the first Hocus Pocus, I felt like you were kind of like cheering for the kids, but the witches were still like interesting enough that you liked their banter with each other.
Yes.
And they were all like very different. And then this new one, you've got like new kids that aren't even related in any way, shape, or form to the kids from the first one. And there's that one line, and I think it was one of the males, one of the few males in the movie, and they were trying, like women, the little like high school girls or whatever, trying to explain to him that it's bad to call somebody weird. And so that was the whole thing. Like, don't call somebody weird. That's hurtful. And then he goes, I have so many people to apologize to.
Mm-hmm.
And so my Sarah hasn't watched any of the Critical Drinker stuff and isn't overly sensitized to the message. But that was the part that completely changed the movie in her mind. And she scoffed out loud and was like, oh my God.
That it took her that long.
That happened like in the first 20 minutes, but
I'm not. No, it didn't. It happened towards the end, right? The football player. That happened after the party and everything. That happened like late movie.
oh, maybe. Well, I don't know, but I mean, that was like we were already not on board with it, but I was picking up the message before then. But she didn't pick up the message until then, and then like the rest of the movie that we had watched up to that point, kind of like her awareness of that up to that point, like that's what solidified it for her in her mind. But she doesn't watch movies as critically as I do. And
Yes.
she's not, like I said, she's not overly sensitized to modern movies trying to, do that thing where the female characters don't have any training or skills, but yet they can defeat everybody and have no issue with most things in life. So,
Yeah, the Sanderson sisters were never particularly menacing in Hocus Pocus 2, were they?
no.
They
And,
at no point were they in danger.
And they did the same thing with Hocus Pocus 2 that Disney did with the live version Cruella, where they're taking a villain character who, if you remember the cartoon, skinned Dalmatian dogs to make clothes.
Puppies. Dalmatian puppies.
Yes, puppies. And they took the Sanderson sisters and they went back and retconned their origin story to where they were, picked on by the town or something, and that's why they became witches. So now they're not just villains, now they're people you can feel sorry for.
Yes.
Right? And so you have to kill your heroes or kill your villains so that you can introduce new things. And the big twist is the overly flamboyant magic shopkeeper, which happens to be located in the Sanderson house, made another black flame candle, which can apparently summon them back from being ultra dead at the end of the first one.
Yes.
And
the shop owner happened to be a very flamboyant black man.
well, I don't see race, so that was news
Yes.
to me.
Well, I did.
I'm just kidding.
Because
I'm
that
teasing.
was the message became clear to me immediately based on the characters that they introduced in the first 20 minutes.
Yes.
Right. The village idiot is the white mayor, the white man mayor.
Yeah, but it's Buster Bluth.
Okay. Well, that doesn't mean anything to me.
You've never seen Arrested Development?
No.
I actually, one of the highlights of the movie for me was anytime the mayor was on screen.
I did not like the mayor. I thought he was a fool.
He is a fool, and he's
Yeah.
meant to be a fool, but that's very true to the character that actor plays in the Arrested Development series. So it was just enjoyable to see him,
Sure.
but it was sad to see him in the train wreck that was Hocus Pocus 2.
Sure.
And apparently, and we didn't watch this far because as soon as the credits rolled, I shut it off. But apparently there's a scene at the end of the movie where there's a box that says Black Flame Candle 2. So apparently
Yes.
this guy made 2 of them. And then the other thing I didn't get was at the end of the movie, she's suddenly a witch, right?
Oh, I saw that right off.
Well, no, I know, but like, it's not like she's been studying really witchcraft.
Right. It's born within. There's no, you don't have to earn it.
Yeah, well, she turned 16, so that was her earning it.
Right.
And
Yeah, but the Sanderson sisters are doing magic before they were 16.
yes.
Clearly.
But they were all 3 witches, the Sanderson sisters.
Yes.
And in this one, it's only her. I can't
Yes.
remember her name because it's not important.
It's not really important.
And then her 2 friends, who apparently one friend was at odds because she liked boys, and the other 2 were, I want to say very clearly lesbians. But
I don't know if they're clearly lesbians, but they weren't into boys.
okay. I mean, as clearly lesbians as Disney will ever portray.
Okay.
In a movie rated what this one was rated.
It's all part of the message. Well, they had a gay
I know.
couple watching the original Hocus Pocus on
which
TV.
is weird. Why would you have the original movie in your second movie?
Well, they made a lot of references to the original movie.
No, they made a lot of references. I'm just saying, like, you're not, like, unless you're watching Spaceballs, like Luke and Han in Empire Strikes Back, we're not watching on the monitor A New Hope. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
Anyway.
I forgave it that.
Okay.
Very strong messaging, though. That's all I can say.
And then, like, what I didn't get at the end was, even though only the one girl was a witch, they were doing the Sanderson shuffle down the road, and they're like, "What are we doing?" And it's like, they had them mic'd, and they read the script, and it said, "Do this goofy walk down the street," and then they were like, the actors themselves, not actually acting, were like, "What are we doing?" And they left that line in the film, like, why are we walking like this? Well, and really, it's the walk from the monkeys, back in the 60s or 70s.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, they're never in the film did the Sanderson sisters demonstrate that walk to these kids. So,
right.
Are they saying every witch does that walk? And can you have a witch coven with only 3? Because that was a big thing in the second one was, we're the strongest witch coven. Well, there's 3 of you. That's not really a coven. That's more like, I don't know, a witch group, like whatever, right. Smaller than a coven. And then randomly there was a good witch that appeared. Do you remember that?
Yeah, the attractive one.
And, but, like, so in the first one, there wasn't really, and it's the whole Disney thing where it's like with Star Wars, they started to say that the Force can do all these magical things. It can teleport you, or you can project yourself across the galaxy. You can pass lightsabers back and forth across light years, and you can heal wounds, and do all this stuff that was never in any of the other stuff. And now they're bringing in all this other stuff that was never in the first movie. And so it almost makes you wonder if the people who wrote this movie even watched the first one outside of, I remember there was a cat thing in there, but I think that cat was dead at the end. And so let's put a cat that looks like that cat, but isn't actually that cat in here.
Yes. Yes. Well, the original said that they got the book from the devil. So maybe that lady was supposed to be the devil, I guess.
I don't know,
the devil's
man.
A woman now. Because there can be no strong male characters in a Disney film.
Unless they're a villain.
Well, there were no strong male characters in the movie at all. Unless you want to consider the zombie, Billy. Yeah. Billy was the only strong male character.
But he wasn't really a villain. He's always been against the Sanderson sisters.
Right,
but even
they
weren't a strong villain.
Uh-uh.
Right. And that's the whole thing is, like, a lot of these movies that come out now, you can't really have a strong villain, especially if you have female protagonists, because it's not Hollywood cool to show a woman getting beat at anything.
No.
Like even like tennis or checkers, like you're not going to have them ever lose.
I felt that the movie was very unbalanced. I don't know. If I had children and I had a boy, I don't think I would want my little boy to watch that movie.
Yeah.
I'll be perfectly honest with you. I think that every male character was a fool. It's ridiculous. Every woman in the show was a good person, even the villain. It's ridiculous. It just doesn't make any sense. You know what I mean? Which I realize is just a stupid Disney movie. So
it's just a stupid Disney movie, but you have to remember, even in, like, Aladdin, Jasmine was, like, enslaved to Jafar.
Yes.
And stuff. And that was an animated Disney movie. But there was actual, like, you could actually have tension because you weren't afraid to let your villain run wild for, 10, 15 minutes of the runtime. Like, sure. He doesn't have to run wild the entire film, but you have to have a villain, and they have to win at the beginning or something. Like they have to win sometime to build the tension. If your villain never wins, it's not really a villain. It's just a minor inconvenience.
Well, the first Hocus Pocus, in the first 10 minutes of the film, the Sanderson sisters murder a child. So they were definitely
and then turn
sinister.
And turn that child's brother into a cat.
Yes. Oh, yes. Yes. Yeah, they were not nice.
So, I mean, they didn't really do much the rest of the film.
Well, it's a Disney movie.
No, I know, but I'm saying, like, you don't have to have them be evil the entire film.
Right.
They have to be a villain so you know what they can do, and then you're rooting for somebody to stop them. And in this one, it's like they're back, and the movie was more excited to have them back than it was with actually writing a story that made sense. And so you got they got the big fan treatment because everybody was back for the witches, but then the witches weren't really true to character because they were in a fucking Walgreens for like half an hour. Like
it was a great advertisement.
Eating makeup or something, remember?
Yes, eating makeup.
It's like, what? How is... It's like the scene in... I don't know if you watched Ghostbusters Afterlife.
No.
But that's the one that's like a direct sequel to Ghostbusters 2. And they don't worry about, the woman one. But there's like a lengthy scene of Paul Rudd in a Walmart. And it's like these stores and places exist, but I don't really want my movie to go to these places unless it's going to be like Clerks or something and you're actually making fun of the place you're in. But
right. I mean, seeing the Sanderson sisters interact with modern technology is entertaining, but not like endless.
Yeah, and I mean, how many years? Promotion. I mean, the first one came out in the 90s, right?
93, yeah.
So, I mean, they should have been struggling with technology in 93 in the film.
Right.
And they weren't really. But
no.
you could have done more with some of the more modern stuff, like not a CVS or a sliding door. Like they had automatic doors in the 90s, I'm pretty sure.
Yes, they did.
So, like, the sliding door shouldn't have been a thing. They should have gotten into this huge, like, riff with, like, an Alexa or a smart device that was like, hey, you can just look on this thing for your potion, right? And that would have been a lot more fun than going to CVS.
They had it briefly. They had an Alexa very briefly.
Yeah.
But, yeah, there was no menace.
No, it was all done for laughs and like, hey, they're back. Look, they're back. They're back, everybody.
Right. Even compared to the original, the male protagonist of the original had his shoes stolen by like local toughs.
Yeah.
Like, that is way more hardcore than anything in the second one.
You mean than the ultimate sin of calling a woman weird?
Yes. Pointing out that she has crystals and pretends to be a witch, and that's weird. Like, that is the big bully action.
Yeah. I mean, that's a normal thing to be called weird about, I think. Like,
I mean, it's fucking weird, for sure.
It's weird. I mean, I know people that like crystals and things, and...
It's weird.
I don't, and it is weird. I don't go to their face and tell them that they're weird for liking it, because I don't want to be the kind of person that's like, hey, you've got a hobby that I don't understand, so that's weird.
Yeah, but you're not 16, right?
Oh yeah, that's true. I forgot that. I forgot I'm old.
Yeah, we're not 16 anymore, and people weren't pretending to be. Well, there were a couple people in my high school that were pretending to be witches, I think. But yeah, whatever.
But I know I was weird in high school too. So I mean, everybody's weird in high school.
Everybody's weird.
Everybody's
weird all the time.
It's fine. Well, and actually, the shoes turned out to be a plot point in the first one, because the one Sanderson sister that can smell everything thought that was the kid they were looking for, but then it wasn't. But he was still wearing the shoes from the beginning. Right. So it was an actual plot point in the movie, and it wasn't just some lazy half-assed thing put into the movie for the message.
Yeah, for no reason.
So,
and well, I hate to say it, but the original one was more diverse in its main casting because it did have both male and female protagonists.
Yeah. But it didn't have the overly flamboyant black shopkeeper.
No, it did not.
So
it had
that's
an elderly
another
woman who was very flamboyant, who was a teacher.
So that's another point for the second one. I mean, it's just racking up all these points, all these social awareness points or whatever.
Well, and in the original, it didn't feel like the adults were ridiculous. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they had an all-night-long party because the sisters put a spell on them. Remember, I put a spell on you to dance?
Yeah. They weren't ridiculous before the spell. They were perfectly reasonable, rational adults.
Yes.
Which is how adults usually are, really.
Yeah, most of them.
Yeah, like they were going to a Halloween party to have fun. I mean, that's fun. It's not ridiculous, though. You know?
My favorite part about the first one was the dad, actually. He made like a couple of dad jokes and was just hamming it up. And that was, I think that was my favorite part of the first one, was the dad character.
I mean, I liked the parents because they were believable, relatively speaking, to a Disney film, of course.
Well, yeah.
Unlike the mayor, a totally unbelievable, ridiculous. I mean, that's what I mean. You have to have some like realistic characters here.
Well, and you have to have realistic things. Like, I understand he was in line to get his caramel apple or something, and then he got out of line and then back in line, and they were all out of caramel apples, or he got his caramel apple stolen, but then he went back and they were like, we don't have any caramel apples. And it's like, what kind of, like, if you're down to the wire and you're the caramel apple booth and you don't have enough caramel apples to bring a couple home at the end of the night, like, you're probably not planning your inventory well enough.
Right.
And
he was devastated by that too.
And
what?
And even if like, it shouldn't have to be a question in my mind. Like, if I watch a movie, especially one that's not entitled Hocus Pocus 2, The Caramel Apple Stand, like, I shouldn't have to sit and wonder about the inventory of a caramel apple stand in a movie.
Right.
Right? Like, if it's not a major plot point, which it wasn't, it was a bit done for a cheap laugh. Whereas in the first one, at least the shoes came back later, and the caramel apple never came back. It was not important. He could have been trying to get toilet paper from Walgreens, and we could have gone back to Walgreens. Like, that would have been fine.
It was just just lazy writing, is exactly what it was. They didn't want to develop any story.
And that's so many of these modern movies, is it's just lazy writing because they want to be, politically correct. They want to have diverse cast, but they want to capitalize on successful movies or successful franchises and then derail them so they can tell their preachy story that they want to preach at people.
Right.
And we've talked about this before. If you have a message and you want a diverse cast and you want diverse this or that, please just write your own thing instead of taking something somebody else wrote and changing it. We don't need more of that. We don't need more WNBA stars, and we don't need more franchises derailed because you weren't happy that there wasn't a 5'9" bisexual character in the 1990s version of the movie. Like, write a movie
in
around
a town, because I looked it up. This is how distracting I found the casting. I looked up the population of Salem.
Yeah.
And it's got 47,000 people, 80% white, 5% black, 5% Asian, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
And it's like, if you're going to base it in a real place, at least have the characters appear to be the people from that town. Base it in a fake town. It doesn't need to be in a real town. There's no need for it. I mean, I guess in the Sanderson sisters case, he kind of does, but...
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's a literal story about witches.
Yeah.
So you could have any town, anywhere. They could be on the moon. It doesn't matter.
Right.
And even if you do, like, let's say you want your main character to be, a black high school student, female. Well, I'm sure there are some that exist there. But
Absolutely.
the rest of the cast can't look just like her.
And
if you're basing it in a real town, right?
Yes. The casting appeared to be Los Angeles. You know what I mean? Like, you could tell.
Yeah, in the first movie, I will say this. In the first movie, I felt like the set designs and the clothes and the actors and everything felt like it could be Salem, like a small East Coast town.
Yes.
Right. And in the second one, I just kind of felt like they were in New York City, or like you said, LA, one of the major metropolitan hubs. Like it didn't feel like a small
It didn't
town.
sound like, at least in the original, the kid was not from there. He was from California. So it made sense that he didn't sound like he was from Massachusetts.
And he dressed different than everybody else.
He looked different than everybody else. Yes. Yep. And they had like the toughs had their fake tough guy accent from the 90s. And
yeah.
It made sense. And not everybody was speaking California English in New England.
Yes. And this one, I guess this one, I say the cast was so diverse, it seemed homogenous to me.
Yes,
right?
That's what I mean. Yes.
They went like overboard on it, so it didn't look like the place they were trying to set it. And it didn't look like any particular place in general, because a lot of big cities look that way, It
looked just like any generic big city.
Yeah.
Which I guess is what they were going for. The audience is people living in big cities. So,
yeah. I mean, really, the audience should have been anyone who liked the first one. But so they kill the Sanderson sisters at the end again. But apparently, because there's another black flame candle, they can come back. So I don't know what it actually takes to kill these sisters. Like that would have been a good thing to introduce in the second one. Like, well, they're back, but how are they back? Because we thought they killed them in the first one. But I guess they didn't. So are they they're always going to come back anytime a black flame candle is lit? And anytime somebody wants to make one of those, they just come back? Because I feel like they tried to make the end of this one feel pretty final. Like the sisters aren't coming back and the third one's going to follow these kids.
The ending was sickening. The sisterly love angle was sickening. Without my sisters, like, you're an evil witch who eats children. Like that's who you are. Like,
you've gone 2 full movies not giving 2 fucks about your sisters.
Right. Yes. And they, like what the hell?
Even 5 minutes ago, she didn't care about her sisters.
I'm not going to lie. I had a problem with the girls they cast as the younger Sanderson sisters.
I wasn't overly pleased with that either.
No, I thought that the Bette Midler was good. I thought the Sarah Jessica Parker was okay. But the one playing, was it Jeannie, whoever, I can't remember her name now. Yeah, that was not a good casting, in my opinion. Yeah.
And honestly, I didn't need to see that. Like, I didn't care. I don't care. Whatever happened to them as kids.
They could have had a good angle.
If it's not going to come back, which it didn't.
Right.
Like they didn't, like you said, it's just lazy writing. They just wanted, they wanted the Sanderson sisters. They wanted the Sanderson sisters to do some songs, I guess, which they did. And the
menacing,
and they wanted the message. And that's
the menacing
what they got.
preacher was not menacing. He was a fool.
Yeah.
You could have him be corrupt. You could have him be vicious, but you can't have a menacing fool. And there was no menace in the movie at all. Like,
no, none whatsoever.
No point was anybody in danger
felt
of anything.
In the first one, they ran over the cat.
Right.
Even though the cat couldn't die, and we knew that because he had said it before that happened. But then the little girl, the main character's like little sister, was upset because she forgot about that.
One of the 3 main, I would consider the brother, sister, and the not girlfriend to all be the main characters.
It was Max, Allison, and Danny, right?
Right. Yes. And he was mean to his sister, Yeah. That was great. I mean, he was a little prick.
But he was also like nice to her.
Yeah.
It was like, but it was very like true, like sibling, right?
Yes.
Like they wrote it like they were actually siblings. And I can't remember a single name of any of the people in the second one.
The Sanderson sisters.
Well, those. But that's what I mean. I've only seen the first one twice, and I remember the names of the 3 main characters.
Right, Binks the cat, Billy.
Yeah, Binks the cat, Billy the headless guy.
Yeah, Billy.
And the second one, I'm like, I don't know who anybody was. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, and initially Billy started off the second one being the friendly zombie. And at least in the second one, he had elements of like fright. Shortly, it was brief, but he wasn't intended to be just a goon or like a goofball.
Yeah.
like a Three Stooges character.
Yeah.
I don't know, 100% of the time. So I don't know. It's very, I don't know.
It
It's
was it was one of those ones you watch and you're like, well, I'm not getting that hour and a half back.
yes, yeah. And like I say, the ending was not satisfactory.
No. Well, there was, like you said, there's no threat.
No.
The Sanderson sisters came back and I don't know, maybe $800 worth of makeup in the Walgreens, but other than that, they didn't do anything.
No. They accomplished nothing. They threatened no one. And then they said the main characters were, at no point did you think that they were going to get in trouble.
No.
You know.
Because they were just running around the whole movie.
They were running around, and when they were stuck in a place, they had front loaded it so heavily with, you have this magical pixie dust that you can light on fire, like stupid stuff like that, where it's like, come on, let's be a little inventive.
Yeah. Or let's have a little, like, danger or thrill.
Right. Let's have somebody get hurt.
Like, the only thing that really happened was, like, the mayor didn't get his caramel apple.
Yes.
But otherwise, like, the sisters fell in love with each other again. The two main characters got their third main character friend back to be friends with them again, even though there's really no strife there that anybody mentioned, really, other than...
just that she was spending more time with her boyfriend than that she was with them.
Yeah, and that seems like an easy thing. Like, hey, we're sitting over our Easy Bake Oven or our, Fisher Price Witch Coven cauldron or something. We wish you wouldn't spend so much time with that boy. Oh, I didn't realize you two felt like that. I still want to be friends with you.
A boy who was an idiotic fool.
Yeah.
Like I said, that does bother me. You can't have one character who is a man not be a complete fool for the entire, there's no moment at which they're not a foolish person.
Yeah.
They could do foolish things and they can be a fool, but you can't have them just be a fool 100% of the time. How do they even survive?
So did you see when the book flew up on the shelf, there was a whole bunch of other, like, human skin-bound books that it was next to?
Yes.
Like, what were those?
Replicas of the book.
They were replicas?
Yeah.
See, I was hoping there would be actual, like, other evil books, because that was going to be more interesting to me than anything they discussed in the film, but...
No, it was like a cheap tourist shop, and they were trying to sell copies of the book.
Okay. Well, that's a bummer. That's even a bigger bummer than I thought.
I am over halfway, by the way.
Yeah, me too.
And it's good. I like it.
Good. I like this one.
It's dark, smooth, very consistent.
Yep. Yeah, it was really strong at the get-go, but it's still strong, but it's not as intense as it was.
No, it's not. It's very strong, but it's very good.
Yes.
So was Sarah
Hocus
disappointed
Pocus
in the movie?
Yeah, she hated it.
My Sarah liked it.
That is unfortunate.
She's not as critical about certain things as I am. She's more critical in other areas.
Okay.
For example, we just finished Stargate Atlantis, and she hated it. And I didn't think it was terrible. I didn't think it was as good as original Stargate.
Yeah.
But I like the goofy Gould and the weird sci-fi crap. Like the funny sci-fi type stuff.
Yep.
And the original was written very, very well. Traditional story of serious people doing goofy things and some of them becoming goofy as a result. That sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Which I guess maybe I'm more of a traditionalist than I thought I was. But...
Well, I did, speaking about like sequels and things, I did just watch the CinemaSins for, I think it was Star Trek V.
Okay.
The one where they, Sybok steals the Enterprise to go to the center of the universe.
Yes.
To meet God. And, I don't know if you've watched much CinemaSins, but he'll like sin things that are dumb. But then sometimes he'll take sins away if it's something that's awesome. And so, he's like, it pains me to do this, but I'm going to take a sin away for when Kirk goes, why does God need a starship? Because, it's one of the classic lines. And it's been a while since I've actually watched it all the way through, but I grew up on the Star Trek movies. And, I kind of liked McCoy and Spock and Kirk sitting around the campfire.
Mm-hmm.
Does it make sense in a Star Trek movie? Not really. I mean, it bookends the film. And I guess with the real Star Trek or the original crew, you never really see them do leisure time. You know what I mean?
No.
So
their leisure is doing weird stuff.
Yes.
That is off camera.
Yeah. So I guess I kind of liked that one because you got to see some of their leisure time where they were supposedly on vacation, But then, he's going through and it's like, that's the one where they bring Uhura down and she dances in front of the moon, like seductively. And they've got like this weird, I don't know, almost like Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome, like Bartertown kind of thing. And it gets really kind of fucking weird. And then like Scotty hits his head on a beam and knocks himself out for the majority of the movie. But they never really reference it later, and he's just back and doing stuff. And, so I don't know, probably not one of the better Star Trek movies. I still enjoyed it, watching it because, I don't know, it's a little goofier than the other Star Trek movies, but.
I don't know if it's better. I mean.
No, I never said better. I just said, like, it's a little goofier. It's
not.
Yeah. It's not.
Well, 4 was goofy as fuck.
Yeah.
But it was clever goofy. It wasn't. It was
clever goofy.
Yeah. Goofy and sci-fi is they go hand in hand.
Yeah.
But there's a way to do it and a way not to do it.
And I felt like the movies, the Star Trek movies for the original crew anyway, really kind of gave the actors a chance to round their characters out a bit from the series, because they had 3 years of the original series, and then they got the movies, and they got to bring a little extra depth because it's a movie, it's not an episodic, and when the original series came out, it was a long time ago, and stories were different and much more episodic, and they didn't really have even like, I don't think they had really any story arcs in the original series. Like Next Generation had, Best of Both Worlds Part 1 and 2, and they had some story arcs and stuff, but
television writing wasn't that at that.
Yeah, it was a different era.
Yeah.
And so I think it's nice to see the movies with the original cast and crew because they get to give a little more depth to their characters. So,
right.
That's my defense of some of the goofier Star Trek movies.
Well, I like goofy. I mean, Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy is goofy, but it's very good.
Yeah.
But like in the books, the goofiness works because not all the characters are goofballs. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like there's serious characters in there.
Yes.
They kind of tone it down. The goofiness happens to the normal people. Not everybody's goofy all the time.
Yeah. And that's one of the problems with a lot of modern movies, and Hocus Pocus 2 is like everybody's either really goofy or really serious. And you don't, like the three main girls in Hocus Pocus 2 were like serious, and then everybody else in the movie was goofy.
Yeah.
And it doesn't really work because you don't have a blend. You need some normal non-main characters as well. Otherwise, it's just these three are the only three that are sane and everybody else is goofy. But that wasn't really what they were going for because they didn't set it up against the three girls versus the world. It was the three girls versus the Sanderson sisters.
Right. And the Sanderson sisters were more sane than every other adult or character of any kind in the story.
Yeah. So they weren't really, you never really felt like they were the ones they should be fighting against.
Right.
So I think
the
that's
boyfriend
like,
being a fool really bothered me.
Yeah.
That, all of it, it's like so stupid. Why can't you have decently written characters in a story involving witches.
Yes.
Some
And that's
sort of
kind
character depth.
and that's kind of so my major is in film and video, and so there are quite a few story classes and script writing classes and things. And one of the things that I remember one of the professors saying, or maybe all of them said this, was when you're writing dialogue, everybody in your story cannot talk like you talk. Right. So like you have a distinct style of talking, and I have my own distinct style of talking. And if I were to write a story and all of the characters talked like I talked, and it sounded like you could hear all of the characters talking in my voice with my same, beats and word choices and accent and all of that stuff, you would say, this guy just can't write dialogue. You have, and the same is true with characters. You can't have every character be just a copy of the other character or the other characters.
The only time you can do that is if you're having an alternate universe sci-fi story where every character, other than the main character, is one character.
Yeah, like Matrix. Or if you're doing something with clones, like there's a whole army of clones you're fighting.
Yes. Yes, I think there's been a couple Star Treks, if I remember correctly, where it's like all of them are just one character over and over and over again. It's like the nurse is the nurse, the doctor, the janitor are all the same, a copy. It's like a dream sequence. It's not surprising, but it was disappointing. There's no reason for Hocus Pocus 2 to have been that bad.
No, and I think, and this is what I've said, and I've said it before on the podcast, and I'll say it again on the podcast now, is Disney, this may come as a shock to some of you, they have enough money. They could decide to actually make a good movie. Right? Like they could pay a proven writer to write some of this stuff. And here's something that's kind of depressing, because I was reading the trivia on Hocus Pocus 2, because I always kind of like to go and read a little bit of the trivia. The original idea for Hocus Pocus 2 was going to focus on Max and Allison's daughter.
That would have been a better story, potentially.
It's already a better story, because you at least have the same people from the first one. They've got a connection to the Sanderson sisters. So why wouldn't the Sanderson sisters want to come back and mess with Max and Allison's daughter? Because they were the ones that banished them in the first one.
Right.
Like you've already got more drama in just that 2-sentence pitch than you do in the entirety of Hocus Pocus 2. I don't know. Not counting the candy apple thing.
Not counting the candy apple.
Like that was the biggest drama of the whole movie, and it was dumb.
Right. Well, I guess I did not know that the mayor played a different character. But even the introduction, the very first conversation they had with this goofy guy, I'm like, who the hell is this goofy guy?
The problem is I like the actor.
Sure.
But I don't like that character for the mayor in the setting where everybody else is just as goofy.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like if everybody else was normal and the mayor was goofy and kind of like airheaded and absent-minded and whatever, like fine, that's a little like, I don't know, humorous little like a small town thing. Like why wouldn't he be the small town mayor?
Yeah, but Salem isn't small enough of a town to have a goofy small town mayor. I've been to small towns that have a goofy mayor, right? But they're not 40,000 people. Like that's a fairly serious position.
I understand that. I'm just saying, like if they, because the cast looked like a big city, right? Like the rest of the town looked like it was a big city, but they were trying to say, hey, it's a small city, Salem. But nothing else really kind of matched with that. But they could have, hey, Salem, small town, whatever. We got a goofy mayor, that's fine. Whatever. Like it could have just been a little like humorous like side piece to the story, but making everybody goofy and everybody the same as he was, kind of like not. So I mean, I enjoy that actor, but I don't enjoy Hocus Pocus 2. So
right.
I just wanted to further clarify. It's kind of like one of those things where you're watching and like you're like, oh no, they dragged so and so into this, you know, and they're there because they were, I don't know, in the first one, or they're a big name and they wanted people to come see it, but they're only on screen for like 2 minutes, you know.
Yeah. Poo poo boo on the story. Boo on the story.
Yes. So I'm glad that you saw it, because I thought you wouldn't have seen it. So it's a nice
I've
little.
seen it once, and I will
and that will be
hopefully
it.
not see it again.
So it's a nice little impromptu topic for this episode.
Yes, yes, it was. Yeah, I even mentioned that to Sarah, that there's not a single male character in the story that is not a complete and utter fool. And I should have gone even further. There's not even a single adult character that was not a complete fool.
Yeah.
You know.
I mean,
Like,
even the shopkeeper that we were supposed to like was an idiot.
He was a total idiot. A complete fool. Yeah. Just ridiculous. And not in a good way.
Yeah. The only way it could have ever made sense was if at the beginning of the film, the Sanderson sisters cast like this crazy powerful spell to make every adult in town an absolute idiot.
Right.
And then they would have had something to fight against. Right? Like it would have said, nope, kids, you don't get any adult help this movie either. Just like the first movie, all the adults were dancing and stuck there. They couldn't stop. And then this one, every adult's just going to be an absolute moron. So you're not getting any help from any adult. So you have to figure it out on your own. And then there's at least something the Sanderson sisters did besides eat face cream. Like,
Right.
I mean, the Sanderson sisters, they can read. I mean, they show them reading out of a book. Like, they can't read what they're putting in their mouth.
Yes. They could have cast a spell and put all the adults to sleep.
They could have done any number of things that would have been better than what they did.
They could have had the same beginning. They could have the same exact characters up until when the Sanderson sisters come back. Right? At that point,
Yeah.
they should have grabbed those girls, brought them back to the house, found the guy, trapped them all in the basement.
Yep.
Maybe tied the guy up. He gets out. He helps him escape the basement.
Yeah.
That would have been a better thing. You know, and they could have went out into the town on their own.
Yeah.
And tried to find all these crazy ingredients.
Yeah, then they could have said, hey, we're out of the basement now, and now we know we're dealing with witches. So now we know what we need to do because, hey, we've been studying witchcraft our entire lives.
Right, yeah. And,
You know.
then they could, then they could go and get their preparations, and they could do like a little wizard battle.
Yeah.
Or witch battle in this case. But,
yes.
Yeah, that would have been way better.
I mean, I almost feel like what they should have done is they should have just put every adult in the film in a big ass adult diaper and had them all just kind of like toddle around, and then but never mention it, but have all the dialogue and all the action the same. Like they're all acting like idiots, but they're wearing big adult diapers. Nobody mentions it, so you just, I guess everybody's a big baby in this town. I don't know. That would have been more interesting than what we got.
Right. Well, they could have just stuck them all at the block party.
Yeah.
And just kind of like, those Sanderson sisters could have weaved their way through the block party to explain that all the adults are at the block party.
Yeah.
And that would have been enough. They could have left them all alone.
And they could have done some cool stuff like, this, I don't know, it's not one of my favorite things, but I like when it's done well, is when somebody's like, they're walking, right? They're like, I got to get out of this building. And they walk and they get to the exit door and they open the door and it's just more building, like where they just came from. And then like, okay, well, I guess I go down this hall. Well, they could have done that with the streets. Like they get to the end of the street and they're like, okay, I'm going to turn on this street and I'm going to go back. And then they turn around the corner and there's the block party again, right? Like, and just do that. And so all the adults are stuck there, like you said. But you could do some cool like film stuff and make it look really cool. Like, oh, well, and then they could like look in front of them and there's the block party, look behind them and there's the block party from the other way, and oh, that'd be kind of cool. I can't actually leave. I don't know why. And then anytime you cut back to the parents, instead of doing the caramel apple thing, you have like that one adult that discovered that you can't actually leave. Like, hey, I can't leave the block party. And then everybody else is like, what are you talking about? You've had too many caramel apples or something. And then the mayor would be like, you had 2 caramel apples? And there's a funny line that has to tie back to the caramel apples. Like,
yeah, they could have just been
done.
like, oh, you're just too full. Enjoy yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, wink, wink.
Exactly.
Why would you want to leave the block party?
Don't you know they have caramel apples here?
Yeah, they have caramel apples here. And the weird, did you? Yeah.
I was just gonna say, like, the witches could have bewitched the caramel apples. So if you eat a caramel apple, you're like an agent of theirs somehow. You know, like you don't want to leave. And then the one person who didn't get one, the mayor, could have redeemed himself because he didn't get a caramel apple, and then he's the only sane one. You know, like, there's a lot you could have done with that.
Right. He could have been earnest.
Yes.
Yeah.
What were you gonna say?
I was gonna say that the scene where they were doing the bobbing for apples and the woman was holding the men's heads in there.
Oh yeah.
I found that very strange.
That was weird.
That was very strange. That was like the message.
That was the literal message.
That was the literal message. Like, we are drowning men.
Yeah, we don't actually care about equality. We just want all the men to fucking die.
Yeah. I've never seen bobbing for apples done in that fashion, I can assure you.
Well, that's how they did it at Gitmo, but...
Yeah, that's, like, extremely dangerous. I hope that young people don't get the idea that that's how it's done.
Yeah, and I don't know, because, I mean, they ate Tide Pods, so I hope that they're not going to start doing the Hocus Pocus 2 bobbing for apples.
I think the Tide Pod thing is old hat now. I think that those people are adults now.
There's been so many other dumb things that have been like those TikTok challenges or whatever. So I don't want Hocus Pocus 2 bobbing for apples to be the next one.
No, that's like, that was very strange. Very strange.
Yeah. I remember, like, I don't know if I said anything. I think I said something to Sarah when it was happening, but it was one of those things where it was so bizarre that I don't even know what to say about it.
Yeah, the woman's holding their heads. For those who haven't watched it, spoiler alert, there's a woman holding these 2 guys' heads in there, and they look like they're drowning, and there's a crowd of people cheering on. And then the Sanderson sisters walk by and make a comment like, oh, this is exciting, you know? And I was like, what the fuck is this?
But the Sanderson sisters didn't cause that to happen, which they easily could have.
Yes.
Maybe there's a deleted scene that explains that, but it was bizarre because I've been to, like, fall festivals in small towns and big cities, and nowhere does anyone bob for apples that way.
No, I've never seen that.
And also, if you're trying to, like, kill somebody, that's probably not the way to do it. Like, drowning them in the bobbing for apples tank on Main Street in full view of the rest of the city.
Somebody could die doing that, but...
Somebody could die, but that's not the best way to kill somebody, probably.
No, that was I don't know.
I don't know how that made it in.
Well, we both know. It was just lazy.
Yeah. They had to, you know what? They had to have something that the Sanderson sisters could kind of, like, in passing, approve of without actually having to do anything evil.
Sure. I think that there was a woman writer who hates men, who wanted to have a scene where a woman was drowning men.
Yeah.
Or maybe a man writer, you know, I don't know. A womanish writer. It was a writer with a cause.
But they already did that in Titanic. Rose drowned Jack. We don't need another Titanic. Write your own stuff.
Yep. Have you seen the male equality video where they have they do
the
I
think
Titanic?
You sent it. I think you sent it to me.
Oh, okay.
And it was like, I'm so glad I'm a man in 2022 or something. Like, you women have it or something. Yep. And it was like, they're like, oh, Captain, should we evacuate women and children first? And he was like, no, men and children first, because women don't need anybody to help them or something.
Yeah. I'm so glad that you're a strong woman.
Yeah.
That's great. That's stupid, of course.
Which to be clear, yeah, that's stupid, but it's a parody on a lot of these movies. Like a lot of these things, they lose the story, they lose the good writing, and you just get like it's like they're almost like propaganda films.
There was definitely propaganda elements. If one were to analyze the subtext of the film,
yeah,
for sure.
Which I would, but I'm not that interested. It's Hocus Pocus 2.
Right? Yeah.
It's not.
It's just
surprise. It's not going to win an Oscar.
So. No, it is not. No, it is not. Every part of it was so foolish, and maybe I'm just too serious of a person, I guess. But you can be foolish and still be entertaining. Monty Python is foolish.
Yes, and I don't think that's it. I don't think that you're too serious of a person, and a lot of it has to do with the good writing to set up the story. Like, I mean, you know what you're getting with Monty Python, but it's still an engaging story, even though it's completely and utterly ridiculous.
Right.
Even Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy is completely ridiculous, and I've read all 5 of the books in the trilogy. And I've seen the BBC miniseries, and I've seen the newest movie that's older now. It's at least 10, 20 years old now. But and they're all good, but it's all based on a good story, and they're all done differently a little bit, but even with let's just say the newest Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy movie, you've got the crazy one. You've got the reluctant one who doesn't even want to be there. You've got the kind of the worldly traveler one. You've got
the serious engineer one.
Yeah, you've got kind of the ditz, Zooey Deschanel. Right? She's the one in there, I think.
I don't know.
That plays the two-headed president's girlfriend. And
the two-headed president's girlfriend's the engineer from Earth, right?
But he's beyond crazy.
Yeah. Oh, he's a psycho.
And that's Sam Rockwell, I think.
Good luck for getting me to know their names.
No, I know. But like but they're all different. Like each character is different and wholly their own character, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the only reason a lot of the bad stuff happens is because the president put in a second head that is absolute batshit insane, that pops up and does random things, like hits the button you're not supposed to hit. So, then things happen. But, but it's entertaining. It's interesting. It's not a serious piece of art. I mean, it is in a sense, but like only because the story's so good.
Right. Yeah. Not everything has to be serious, obviously, but there's a reason why the Joker works in Batman.
Yeah.
There's a reason why Batman works as a franchise versus like Superman is boring as fuck.
Yeah.
Superman's very boring, in my opinion.
Oh, I think so too. Incredibly boring.
It's incredibly boring. For the same reason that Captain Marvel was boring.
Well, not the same reason, but...
Not the same. Well, yeah, pretty much.
Similar reasons.
Similar.
But even in... I guess just comparing Superman and Captain Marvel, like Superman has a weakness.
Yes.
And Captain Marvel does not, so...
Superman's weakness is so limited that I guess the story has to be circled or centered around somebody using the weakness.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's why it's boring. Like, the first one is probably fine, but then it's like, okay, the only way to actually beat him is, to get the kryptonite and then get him close to it. And that's that, and then basically it turns into you get the kryptonite, you get his girlfriend, and then put her near the kryptonite. And then there's your Superman 1 through 17. And right. Captain Marvel just has no weaknesses, and that's probably why there's only been the one.
Yes, and the actress is not personable.
Well, yeah.
that hurts them. I mean, in the modern world, that does hurt the franchise because they're personalities.
Yeah.
And they have to sell the movies. So
that is
it's
true.
kind of like why Captain America's boring. I think Captain America is very boring. He's a better villain than he is a hero, for sure.
Yeah. But at least Captain America has some of those like human failings.
Yes.
That
is true.
Could make him interesting if they chose to kind of really delve into that, but they don't, of course.
No. Right. That's what, I don't know if they'll ever have another Joker-based Batman film, because the Joker, at least the way that I view the Joker working, is the Joker has to make a good point about what's going on.
Yeah.
The Joker has to be right, more or less.
Well, at the end of The Batman with Robert Pattinson,
mm-hmm.
The newest one that played the same Nirvana song like 2 times in a 3-hour movie, which is 2 times too many. Because I don't think you should have any pop music in a Batman movie.
Probably not.
You could do it over the end credits, but that's about it. Do an instrumental version, during the film if you really want that song in there, and then do the pop song at the end. But they teased the Joker at the end of that one. So if they do another one with Robert Pattinson as Batman, I think they'll bring the Joker back. But I don't know. Like you said, it has to be, done the right way.
Right.
And the weird thing with what was it, Joaquin Phoenix as the Joker, right?
Yep.
Like, are they doing a second one of his Joker?
I don't know. Probably not. He's too dangerous of a persona to have involved with your movies if you're going to do a major blockbuster franchise type movie.
Yeah,
he
and
doesn't give a fuck.
No. And maybe that's why it worked as the first one, though, because they had that persona, but you probably can't get him on board for multiples. Maybe,
but his press might. He generates negative press.
Yeah.
Not in the way that they like to have negative press nowadays.
Yes.
And it's not negative press. It's dangerous negative press is what I'm trying to say. He's not doing anything ridiculous. It's just like.
And I like him as an actor, so I don't have any qualms about seeing him in a movie.
No, I like Joaquin Phoenix. I think he's great. But if you have him as a part of your movie, he's going to end up saying things that you're not going to want him to say.
Yeah. That's true.
Well, you know what I mean? And it's going to be serious stuff. It's not going to be stupid.
Yeah. I mean, Tom Holland says things the studio doesn't want him to say because he'll just inadvertently leak plot points on talk shows and things.
They're okay with that. They just don't want you talking about the politics of Hollywood or exposing people as being corrupt or.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the difference is Tom Holland does it in a cute, naive way. And Joaquin Phoenix does not.
No.
So.
No. Yeah. He's like, look at all of you with your fancy clothes and your ridiculous parties. He's like, people are starving outside.
Yeah.
There's 1,000 homeless people right outside the building.
I'm still inside, though, but look at the rest of you.
Yeah. I'm still here.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
Give your gift bags to the homeless out there.
Yeah.
That's bad press. They don't like that.
Yeah. Don't bite the hand that feeds you.
Right. That is about it.
Yeah. So
I'm getting down to the point where this is burning my hand.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I'm still smoking this one, and it's still good.
It is still good.
Yep. It is still good.
I'm impressed.
I like this one. I think the Cane F is still has it for this series of nubs, but I think this one's a pretty close second.
Yes, it is. I would recommend if you see one.
Yes.
You want a nub.
The Maduro or the Cane F or even the Cameroon. Those are probably the top 3. And next we're going to do a double Maduro. So is that like when you go to the liquor store and you see IPA and double IPA?
I would hope so. I would hope so.
You think the double is going to be twice as dark?
Oh, it's not going to be twice as dark.
Well,
I don't know how it could be twice as dark.
It says double on the label.
That is true. Was Hocus Pocus 2 twice as good?
It was twice as bad.
It was twice as bad. Yes. I don't understand how you can make a movie about evil witches that eat children and there's no menacing.
And they don't eat any children. Like, what's that about?
No, at least in the first one they ate some children.
Yeah, it's like in the live action Cruella. I don't think she ever kills a dog. She's actually friendly towards dogs, and
right.
It just doesn't make any sense with the character. Like if you don't want to make a movie about a villain that skins puppies, then don't make a movie focused on that character. If you don't want to make a movie about three witches that eat children, don't make a sequel to the movie where three witches eat children. Like, it's not that hard.
No, Disney is, they have to remake these movies so they can keep their licensing up.
Yeah, their copyright and everything.
I understand that, but even the new Pinocchio, which I have not watched.
I haven't watched that either. I was, I'm always apprehensive about live actions of animated movies. And I was like, well, they got Tom Hanks, but like Geppetto is only in the original one, like for a very short time. So right. That's not really, he's not really going to be in there a whole lot, I don't think.
The only thing I know about it is that Pinocchio doesn't actually do anything bad, from what I understand. Like, he doesn't go to the Bad Kid Island and they drink beer and smoke cigarettes or whatever.
Oh, man.
Yeah, it's like they go and drink root beer or something. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Like,
well, I'm sure Sarah and I are going to watch the live action Pinocchio just because we have Disney Plus and it's there. And
right.
But
have you watched Obi-Wan yet?
No.
You haven't watched Obi-Wan yet? I didn't finish it.
Okay. I watched the Critical Drinkers review of Obi-Wan, and it made me kind of sad. So
we made it to episode 4 or 3. I can't remember. And then I was like, yeah, I'm out. Yeah. I'm done.
I'm quickly losing faith in most things, especially most things that are continuations of beloved old franchises.
Yes. I'm dreading when they remake Robin Hood, because I like the Robin Hood story a lot. I like the Errol Flynn version. I like the Disney animated version. I like the Kevin Costner version. I like Men in Tights. There was
another one too, though, past the Kevin Costner one, wasn't there?
Oh, I'm sure there was. Oh, they remade Robin Hood.
They've already remade it like 15 times, so.
Yeah, I know, but they're going to remake it, and then they're going to recast the Sheriff of Nottingham as a black transgendered woman, and she's going to be misunderstood and, not all that bad.
And Robin Hood will be the villain, and then we'll be on the same side as the people we shouldn't be.
Right, yeah. And Prince John will be, a lesbian pretending to be a man. And, King Richard will be a villain. He'll be the evil villain. Yeah. That's what I'm not looking forward to.
Yeah.
They could even do one where Robin Hood was a corrupt crook. I've seen versions like that, and that's fine.
Yeah.
That's cool. But you still have to have villains in a story about stealing from the rich to give to the poor, Like, the rich do have to be the bad guys in that story.
Yeah. I mean, so you don't necessarily have to have a movie with a villain, but you definitely do have to have an antagonist. I mean, that's like writing 101. You've got the protagonist and you've got the antagonist. So everybody can't be misunderstood.
No.
There's got to be some conflict somewhere, and there's only like 3 types of stories, right? It's like maybe 3 or 4, like man versus nature, man versus like an external threat, and man versus himself. And in this sense, man is genderless. It's, person versus person or person versus environment, or, like The Edge. You've got the two guys in the plane crash and they're fighting the wilderness and that giant bear with the spear,
Mm-hmm. I've seen that movie.
Yes, I figured you would have.
I have seen that movie, and it was all right. It's perfectly fine. It's no Steven Seagal movie.
That's true. It's no Hocus Pocus 2.
It's no Hocus Pocus 2.
Because the bear totally was going to eat somebody.
Right. There was menacing. I would like to see Hocus Pocus 3 be rated R, and the Sanderson sisters actually come back and kill some people.
Why not?
Yeah, I mean, let's get real here. They made this movie for millennials to watch with their children.
Yeah.
Or by themselves if they didn't have any.
Yes.
And, let's make it an adult version then,
Yeah.
Let's get Max back. That he's a drunk now and vicious.
And
why not?
He just discovered cocaine or something.
Yeah. I mean, let's make this shit like Train Spotting, except with Hocus Pocus.
Shit, yeah.
Yeah, mix that up with some Fight Club, except the Sanderson sisters are in the Fight Club,
Yeah. It's them versus everybody.
Yeah. Like, let's do some killing here. Like, they just give up on trying to live forever and just want to, slaughter.
Yeah, because wasn't in the first one they had to get, somebody's thumb, right? For one of their potions? Let's see them actually get, a pliers and rip somebody's thumb off.
Yes. Yeah, they have to have dead man's toe or something stupid like that.
Yeah, something like that, yeah.
Yeah. It's like, well, let's see them kill somebody then. Come on.
Hocus Pocus 3, Witches Unleashed or something.
Yeah. The not rated version.
Yeah. The unrated director's cut that Disney doesn't want you to see.
Yeah. Yeah. I heard Aladdin had a disclaimer on the front of it now too.
Oh, they did that for all of their animated movies.
Really?
Well, I don't know about all of them, but
a lot of them.
Even they even have one on Fantasia.
Really?
And they're like, it's that thing. And I was like, well, it can't. Is it because the mushrooms look like, Asian people? And no, I guess there's a scene where I think the centaurs have slaves maybe in the background or something, or I don't know, but
okay.
It's it's animations done to music. Like, how bad could it actually be? I don't know.
I still want to see him release Song of the South.
Yeah.
Full HD Song of the South.
I mean, it's historical now, so.
I just want to see it. I'm not going to incentivize with the theme of the story.
The theme of the story being states' rights.
Yeah. Yes. States' rights. Yes. How good the guys with white hats are. Ooh.
Yep.
But anyway.
All right. So if you are in a movie studio and you like some of the ideas we talk about, we can be contracted to help write your script for Hocus Pocus 3 unrated and a modern retelling of Song of the South. And or just the restoration.
Yes. It will look a lot like Mississippi Burning. Just be aware. Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the original, and Mississippi Burning.
Yes. One of my favorite memes I ever saw was somebody, and it's like, it starts out and you think they're complaining, and they go, you just, in today's society, you just couldn't make Blazing Saddles today because the actors would read the script and say, well, this is Blazing Saddles. It's already made.
I actually saw a version of Blazing Saddles on network television where they had edited out all the swearing.
Okay.
It was awesome. It's so bad.
Some of those are funny for laughs, like the Die Hard TV version or whatever.
Yes.
Like Yippee-Ki-Yay, Mr. Falcon.
Yeah.
despite the fact that nobody's called Mr. Falcon in the entire film.
Yeah. I like Melon Farmer.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. And Effity
Classic.
Jeffities. That's
Yep.
So anyway, I am officially done. It was
Me
a
as
very
well.
good cigar.
It was a very good one.
Good to the last drop.
Yes.
So I hope everybody has a good week.
Yes, thanks for listening. And skip Hocus Pocus 2 and probably skip Pinocchio. But if either Mike or I watch Pinocchio, we will definitely let you know.
Oh, we're not watching Pinocchio.
I'm a real boy. Yes. All right. Thanks for listening.